Hey guys, in this video I'm going to be sharing with you a build that I'm absolutely in love with in chapter 5. If you love to see critical hits over and over again, then you're at the right place. Let's go over the build and then we'll do a showcase. Our first specialty, Barrage, provides more damage the more successive actions we do in a turn. Our second specialty, Apex Predator, makes our Slayer abilities go from a 2x multiplier to a 3x multiplier, and we get a BP back whenever we land a critical hit or net a kill. So what do we do with this information? Well, the first thing I know is that I want the specialty Achilles Heel from Phantom, because when we use an attack that exploits a weakness, we have a 50% chance for it to be a critical hit. Ranger specializes in attacking the family group of enemies with their kit, so we'll always have an attack to exploit an enemy's weakness. In order to get Achilles Heel, we'll need Subjob Specialty 1 from Spirit Master at level 8, and our Phantom as our subjob. Since we're going to have a high chance to inflict a critical hit, we'll want Critical Am from Phantom at level 6. This makes our critical damage go from 50% damage increase to 80%. Damage cap is 9,999 and we'll easily hit that with Critical Amp, so we'll need Surpassing Power from Hellblade at level 12 so we can see even bigger numbers. With the last two slots, I did a lot of testing with Who Dare Wins from Ranger, which gives us a higher chance to land a critical hit if we have 1 BP or higher. Critical Flow from Bastion, which may give us a BP if we get a critical hit, and BP Limit Up, which allows us to hold 4 BP instead of 3. But at the end, none of them made the cut. I noticed that the later you go into the game, the bigger the HP pools of the enemies become, and we need a little more power, which none of these passives provide. Thankfully, Raw Power from Beastmaster at level 7 gives us 10% more damage every time we brave, and stacks perfectly with our Barrage specialty. The last slot goes to MP Saver from Beastmaster at level 10, because reducing the cost of our abilities allows us to squeeze out more hits, which is the biggest DPS gain. For our support, you'll want Freelancer as the main job and Bard as the sub job. The reason for this is because there should be no other job at this point in the game that has more defense, HP, and magical defense as Freelancer, unless you captured a bunch of monsters with Beastmaster, in which you should be using that instead. Now that we have our support with the most defensive stats to take a beating, we'll want Born Entertainer from Bard at level 5, so our songs give a higher stat buff. Spearhead from Beastmaster at level 8, so our support can buff us before we attack. Subjob Specialty 1 from Spirit Master at level 8, so our buffs last one more turn. The last two slots are optional, but the later you go in the game, the more enemies will attack our support when buffing the party. So I went with Counter Savvy from Ranger at level 6, so we can avoid taking damage, and Turntables from Phantom at level 9, which synergizes with Counter Savvy, giving us a free BP. Now that we have our passive set, let's optimize our equipment. We'll want to wield a bow since we have an S efficiency in it. The best bow you can have for the remainder of the game until you come to chapter 6 is the Tristan bow. This bow can be found from this enemy in Rindal. You can practice killing this enemy or use my 100% guaranteed steel build that I recently published. If you haven't seen it yet, I'll have a link in the description and the cards on the upper right. Your head and chest don't matter because this bow weighs a ton. We do want to fit in 2 Sensei belts in our accessory slots, because these give plus 20 critical chance, the highest of any accessory in the game. You can get the Sensei belt by stealing from this enemy in Holograd. I once again suggest using my steel bill so you can get this easily. He can sometimes knock you out of combat for a few turns. If he does, I suggest just running and retrying. For our support, we'll want a spear to activate Spearhead, and anything that gives the most HP, defense, and magical defense. I decided to slap on the gold hairpin you get at the end of chapter 4 because it saves us some MP. Now that we're prepared, let's get into battle. You'll always want to start off with Hurt So Bad and All Killer, No Filler twice. This will buff our physical attack and critical chance by 30% and more depending on what level your support is. Let's say you're level 45, you should have 36 on both of your buffs. If anyone cares for the math on critical hit chance, I'll have it in the description to not bore you. After buffing the party, look at the enemy by pressing the X button and use the appropriate attack to target their family. This should be at bare minimum 120k damage. If the enemy survives for some reason, you should have 0 to 3 BP to attack again. The next videos will all be of Chapter 6 plus, so look forward to the endgame builds. If you got value from this video, please leave a like and consider subscribing to see more. Until the next video, I'll see ya.